Hello, welcome to Horse Race Politics. This is a pretty new channel I just started last week, and basically the idea of this channel, at least for now, is that every day, I'll try to be doing this every day, but sometimes I may be busy, but the idea is, as often as possible, I will be posting updates on what the state of the 2020 election is looking like, and in this episode, we'll be talking about who Joe Biden's vice president choice is likely going to be. Now, as you can tell by the name, Horse Race Politics, basically what this channel is going to be mainly about is talking about what the state of the 2020 election, not only for presidency, but also House and Senate, what it all looks like at the moment, like whether or not Republicans are up or Democrats are up. Basically, the idea is we don't necessarily talk about whose policies are good or whose are bad. We try to remain as unbiased as possible, but instead, we talk about who's more likely to win seats in the House or who's more likely to win the presidency. That's the basic idea around this channel. And I'll try to do these updates daily, but we'll see how it goes. Today's video is about who Joe Biden is going to choose as vice president. Now, he was supposed to be choosing this weeks ago. Usually, the candidates choose their vice president in July. But because the Democratic National Convention got delayed, and it was supposed to happen in July usually, but because things are really weird this year, it did not happen, and Joe Biden has yet to choose vice president, but it seems that he's likely going to do it sometime in the middle of this week, either tomorrow or the day after, possibly. So, there's, I'd say, 5 or 6 candidates that are up for the grabs for the position as of now, and those are Kamala Harris, Susan Rice, Karen Bass, Gretchen Whitmer, potentially, and I forgot the last one. Let me pull it up quickly. Yeah, Tammy Duckworth is the last one. And then some people think Elizabeth Warren, but I'm not so sure about that. But we're going to be talking about each candidate in this episode, and I will be giving my own opinion on who's most likely going to get the position. So, right now I have pulled up this article from CNN that they put out today, talking about their top 5 choices for who's most likely going to be Joe Biden's pick. And at number 5, they have Karen Bass. Now, she's been relatively unknown until now. I have not heard of her until last week, but in the last couple of weeks, she has been tossed around as a possible choice. Now, I don't really have too much to say about her because I don't know much about her, but I'll just be reading off what this CNN article is talking about her. And it's talking about basically that Biden may have chosen her 10 days ago. Apparently, he was going to choose his pick for vice president 2 weeks ago, but it got delayed for some reason, not exactly sure why. And in fact, 2 weeks ago, I think it was like August 1st or July 31st or something, there was like this so-called leak that was released that said that Joe Biden was choosing Kamala Harris, but no one's really sure whether or not that's actually going to be his pick, so there's still speculation about that. But, so this article on CNN, it's talking about how Karen Bass, in the recent couple weeks, it has not been looking too good for her, and I think the main reason for that is because her allegedly insensitive comments about Fidel Castro, the former Cuban dictator. Apparently she said she was praising him or something, but even though he was like a brutal dictator, and apparently a lot of people aren't too happy about that. So it seems that she's not that likely to be the choice. Besides that, she's also not that well known nationally. She's a congresswoman from California, but besides that, no one really knows too much about her. Now on this list, number 4 is that Tammy Duckworth. One thing about Karen Bass is that she's African American, and that might help her a little bit because I think Joe Biden is considering choosing an African American woman to be his vice president because of what's been going on in the last couple of months with the concerns about police brutality, about racial relations, and maybe to have like a unity to like reach out to African Americans. A lot of people are thinking that he's going to choose a person of color as vice president, possibly an African American, but we have to find out. Now, number 4 on this list is Illinois Senator Tammy Duckworth. Now, she is half Asian and half white. I was not sure about that until I found out recently, but yeah, she's half Asian. And one thing that makes her really appealing is her story. So she's a former veteran or current. I'm not sure if she's like actually serving, but she was a veteran in the Iraq War, and she lost both of her legs in that war. So she's permanently amputated, and like I think the thing about that is that like that really adds to her story of like struggling, but then like coming back, making a comeback from that struggle. And after she fought in the war in Iraq, she then became a congresswoman and then a senator afterwards. And now she's currently a senator. And you guys might know about the controversy between her and Tucker Carlson from a few weeks ago. Basically, Tucker was talking about how I don't remember exactly what was going on, but he was saying that she doesn't really care about her country or something. I don't remember exactly. Doesn't really matter too much, but she's a half Asian, half white woman, I think. And this CNN article is saying that one of the reasons why she might not be the choice is because she's not that well known nationally, so there's not really too much going for her. Next on this list is Gretchen Whitmer. Now, back in like April, May, she was really high on the choice for vice president, I believe, because I know Michigan, the way they were handling the COVID-19 outbreak, I think that's what set Gretchen Whitmer apart. The way she handled it, and like how there were all those. I remember there was the anti-lockdown protest going on, and I think that's one of the reasons why she became known nationally. But I don't think it's as likely now. I think she's kind of fallen off in the last couple months, so I don't think it's going to be her likely anymore. But I think one of the good things about her is that she's younger, and like she has some experience, but I don't think it's going to be her most likely. Now, next on this list is number two, Susan Rice. Now, she was serving in the Obama administration. She has served in the Obama administration as National Security Advisor and as UN Ambassador. Now, the one reason why if Biden chooses her as the vice president choice, this might raise a lot of controversy because there's the whole issue. A lot of people, they don't like how she's tied to the Benghazi attack. So I don't really know much about that whole situation, but that's just what I've heard, that a lot of people don't want her to be the choice because of that. But it seems that she's a pretty likely choice for the vice president slot right now. She's an African American woman, so that will really, I think that will really help out her chances. I think Biden is seriously considering an African American woman. I know on one of his interviews like a week or two ago, he admitted that in his list of possible choices, 4 of the women were African American women. And yeah, Joe Biden's vice presidential choice, he announced back in March in that debate against Bernie Sanders, it's going to be a woman. So that really narrowed the list for potential candidates. Now let's go to what CNN has as number 1 on their ranking. And now number 1 they have listed as Kamala Harris. Now, the reason why I think Senator Kamala Harris from California has a really good chance of obtaining the position of vice president is because, number 1, she's a woman of color, half African American, half Indian. That's the thing a lot of people actually don't know about her. She's half Indian, but she's also half African American. So I think her being a woman of color will definitely raise her chances. And also she's pretty well known nationally. And that's mainly because of her 2020 run in the Democratic primaries. She dropped out pretty early on before any of the votes were even casted. Dropped out back in December. But I think despite that, she still gained herself a lot of attention. But here's one of the reasons why I'm still kind of skeptical about that choice. Now, this was like over a year ago at this point, but the first Democratic debate, one of the highlights of that was when Kamala Harris went at it against Joe Biden. Kamala Harris brought up Joe Biden's bad Senate votes from the 70s, according to her, about how he was against busing for desegregation, and Kamala Harris went hard against Joe Biden for that because apparently Kamala Harris was directly affected by the busing policies. So she was able to make a really good point against Joe Biden, and that really raised her chances and really lowered Joe Biden's chance of the nomination. Eventually, that didn't matter because Kamala Harris lost and Joe Biden won. But I'm still kind of skeptical because that might be a source of conflict between the two. But besides that, I think there's still a lot going for her. Because, number one, she's well known nationally. Number two, she's like pretty, like, the way she debates, I think her style, like, she just goes at it. Like, if you've seen, I think that's what a lot of people see in her. And yeah, she's half African American, half Indian, women of color. But here's the other thing that a lot of people don't like about her. A lot of people, they don't like her past record as Attorney General of California, because apparently she was really tough on crime as a prosecutor. And a lot of people, especially with what's been going on recently, they're not going to be too happy about that. And this is actually what Tulsi Gabbard, I forgot which debate it was, it might have been like the November one, or not November, sorry, it was the July one, July. Yeah, this is, I remember, Kamala Harris, she went way up in the polls after the first debate in June, but then after the second one in July, she went right back down because of it wasn't like right back down, it was over time, but it was because of the tough attacks that Tulsi Gabbard launched against her. She went at it, like, it was brutal, you had to feel bad for her because of how brutal it was. But yeah, I think her past record as a prosecutor doesn't make things too good in that aspect, but besides that, I think she still has a lot going for her. Now, besides the candidates that are on this list, I have two others that I would like to talk about. One of them was actually previously a potential candidate, but no longer is, and that's Amy Klobuchar. Now, she was pretty well known nationally because of her 2020 presidential run, but I think the reason why she was dropping out of the vice presidential candidate options was because after the George Floyd killing happened, because she was a senator from Minnesota, and apparently as a prosecutor in the past, she had the chance to prosecute Derek Chauvin, but she didn't do it. And because of that past event, there's a lot of people don't want her to be the vice president now. And because of all that, because of all the outrage that could have happened over her being vice president, she decided to just step out and not take the position. And the other candidate I'd like to talk about is Elizabeth Warren. Now, just like Amy Klobuchar, Elizabeth Warren is not a woman of color. Of course, there was the whole Pocahontas, whatever, that Trump was talking about. Apparently, she claimed to be Native American. I don't know. I don't care too much about that. It doesn't really matter. But the point is, she is not a woman of color. But what would have made her a good choice is to have left a unity within the Democratic Party, with the left and with the centrists. Because Joe Biden is relatively a centrist compared to like the majority of the Democratic Party. So having a candidate that's relatively on the left compared to the Democratic Party, I think would be great for unity of the Democratic Party. And that way there would be less Bernie Sanders supporters that would sit out this election, and they'd be more willing to vote for Joe Biden. Same thing with Elizabeth Warren supporters. She was well known in the 2020 election primaries because she did sort of decently. Obviously, after Super Tuesday, she kind of fell off, but that's besides the point. And yeah, she's a woman, so that's obvious. She's obviously a potential candidate, but I don't think it's going to be Elizabeth Warren most likely, because there's not really much going for her anymore. And obviously Amy Klobuchar's gone. So who do I think is going to be the candidate? I don't know for sure, but here's my top two choices. And it's the same as the top two on the CNN list. Kamala Harris and Susan Rice. Now, it's really hard to choose between those two, which is more likely. But if I had to choose between those two, I would honestly say Kamala Harris. But like, either of those candidates, there's some sort of controversy behind it. So that's going to be there no matter what. Like, no matter what, every one of those candidates has done something bad. Like, no one's perfect. Like, not to defend the bad things that they've done, but people don't do the right thing 100% of the time. So there's going to be some sort of controversy no matter who he chooses. But if I had to choose between those two, then I choose Kamala Harris, yeah. Kamala Harris, that's my prediction. Mark my words. Hopefully, this doesn't age badly, but that's it for this episode. I don't want to go past the 15-minute mark because I'm not verified yet. So that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Consider subscribing. See ya.